to crypto-clothesline. We're glad to be here with you. Hanging out the crypto laundry. Getting all the crypto info for you. Crypto-clothesline.
How are you coping with school holidays, Amy Rose?
It's coming towards the end, so I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. But at the same time, I don't know, I'm not looking forward to back lunches, and I'm not looking forward to rushing off to drop off to school, and because there's an evil to both sides.
And there's a joy to both sides as well. You know, that whole Star Wars analogy we've always got going on, the dark and the light side.
Huh? No, what?
You said there's an evil to both sides, and I said there's a joy to both sides. Are you pretending not to know what the joy is?
I am.
Oh, sorry. You can still trip me up. You can still trip me up.
No, I was being sarcastic. Sorry, excuse the rubbish trucks. And the basketball hero who is, he's obviously going to go into the NBA or whatever the Australian equivalent is, because he has been basketballing since the wee hours.
This is your baby.
No, this is the next door neighbour's child who is loving basketball so much that he has to start really early and finish really late. And the problem is, new neighbour. So I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable by saying, can you guys just stop basketballing? Because it's awkward. I want them to feel welcome. I can't have the first instance of meeting me being, dude, stop basketballing.
It's taken me back to being 10 years old, and I lived in an apartment in Sydney with my mum and my sisters, and we had a short sojourn there of a couple of years, and we had this woman downstairs, and I had a basketball, and it drove her crazy, and I never bounced it in the house because I knew I wasn't allowed to. I knew it made noise downstairs, and goodness knows I didn't want to, awaken the beach. She had a massive issue with alcohol. She would then come up and accuse me and yell at me through the back fly screen door of bouncing my basketball, and I absolutely hadn't. So it was like it was sort of reverbing through her brain. And so it's just brought me back to that basketball and neighbours. And let's face it, we would rather have our kids with basketballs than looking at screens. But I totally get what you mean about noisy neighbours.
Well, you've got dogs. I've got bouncing. And I've also got this little tick. And I don't know if it's called a tick, but I really like beats and I really like rhythm. And so to relax myself, I'm putting it totally out there to the world that I have this problem, right? But to relax myself, I actually create beats in my head. I tap a lot. Actually, I tap when I go to sleep. Okay, really crazy person. But when I listen to the basketball, and if it's not bouncing on cue, if it's not bouncing to the beat it was like 1 second ago, I'm like, I'm so frustrated. Why is this? Because I don't know what he's doing with this ball, but it's all over the place.
That is an amazing thing. I think we've just coined a new phrase, or at least I have in my head. It's anti-sync syndrome. It's out of sync.
I actually do have this legit problem, and I don't know if it's a thing. Maybe it is. If our listeners can tell us if I have something that is titled, and maybe it's OCD. I don't know. Shut up, abheeti, before you say I am.
I think it's fascinating, and I think maybe you've just got this inner drummer that needs to be released. Maybe you need to go and do some drumming in a full moon beach circle somewhere or something.
Abheeti, let me tell you the story about when I thought I was going to be a drummer. I was in high school. I had this idea when I was young, and I thought I'll be a really good drummer. And I went to 3 lessons, and the teacher kept saying to me, stop squinting. But like every time I hit the drum, I would like squint and get all like,
what the fuck? Why can't you squint, for Christ's sake?
Because I basically wasn't flowing. I was just like, every time the sound, because it was so loud, I would flinch. It didn't matter how many times I would drum, I would just be like, it was just too uncomfortable. I'd much rather just a light little tap constantly,
There are some amazing full moon beach meeting, circle drummy type organizations that they meet on the full moon on the beach. I think I just said that. And they're awesome. They've got, what do they call, jambalas? Oh shit, I'm going to completely show my ignorance here, but they're not like a drum kit type thing. It's really beautiful rhythmic drumming. So maybe that's more up your alley.
Well, I could just fuel the tick, start hanging out with other people with ticks.
Well, maybe it's just like this inner rhythm that wants to find a way out, darling. I'm not sure. But there's something else that comes to mind. You've heard of tapping, haven't you?
Well, that's what I did. That's what my partner finds really irritating.
So this is not tapping on an object. This is like tapping on a body part. And it's a really good way of releasing. You can reprogram your mind that way. Check out tapping. The guy whose book I read is Nick Ortner. It's a whole science and it's used in psychotherapy and all sorts of things. So you could actually start using tapping and it totally, excuse the pun, taps into what you're doing.
Oh, I have a number of ailments. One of them is speaking a lot of profanity. And if I just start tapping, that's going to solve my problems.
Well, there's lots of different speakers and experts and there's loads of information around tapping. So just Google it and find out for yourself. You can totally use tapping by yourself. You start off on the side of the hand and you'll see there's a whole sequence and it varies between different practitioners, but tapping is a hugely powerful way. My Neanderthal way of explaining it is reprogramming the brain, but I'm sure there are far more eloquent ways of explaining it.
I'll Google it. Don't you worry. And when you speak to me next, I'm going to be like a new woman.
Don't be a new woman, just be you, but reprogram the way that suits you best.
So this week we have Shireen Yip. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
We're super excited to have you on the show also because just recently I travelled through Brisbane Airport.
Wonderful.
And with Amy Rose's assistance managed to buy a coffee.
It was so exciting. And at the moment, you're the COO of Travel by Bit. You lead a team of developers, marketers, salespeople to bring blockchain technology to the mainstream. So how did this happen? How did you get into Bitcoin and blockchain?
I graduated in health sciences, so yeah, not quite related to cryptocurrency, but Caleb and I, we've traveled a fair bit prior to having kids. So it's mostly our experiences through traveling that have really shaped us, and that's how we came up with the idea of Travel by Bit. So it was about 3 years ago, we were on a kite surfing trip to Sri Lanka. And we were visiting this really remote part of the country where we spent 2 weeks kite surfing. And we loved it so much that we decided to extend our stay. The accommodation that we were staying at could not process our payment because they did not accept Visa or MasterCard and we ran out of cash. So they said, oh, that's fine. Stay on, go back to Australia and then do a bank transfer for us. So we thought, oh, okay, that's doesn't seem the most efficient way to run a business with international guests. And I guess also as a traveler, we are constantly experiencing the friction of high foreign exchange rates, insecurity of carrying too much cash, and the high possibility of being subject to credit card fraud. With all this in mind, we felt that blockchain payments really make sense for a traveler. And that's how we came up with Travel by Bit. And here we are today.
Wow. So Travel by Bit was actually born from you experiencing a lack in the marketplace and then providing a solution to that need.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Bitcoin is the world's first true global currency. As we learn more about the technology and gathering that together with our travel experiences, we realized that with this blockchain payments, anyone can take payments from anywhere, irregardless of borders or exchange rates. It can truly make global commerce more transparent and efficient, I feel.
It is absolutely incredible. But how does Travel by Bit actually work? And you've got a lot of merchants now. I don't know how many you are. You could probably share that with us. But you've got so many merchants. How does it all work? How do you need additional facilities? Do you need machines? Or how does it work being a merchant and being a customer?
So we have about close to 200 merchants now across the major cities in Australia, with majority of it concentrated in Queensland, in Brisbane, across the airport, and then most recently the town of 1717 Agnes Water. You don't need any special hardware as a merchant to run a system. It's a web-based applications. All you need is a tablet, your phone, or even a PC, anything that just connects to the internet, really. We support multiple currencies. So at the moment, we have about 5 currencies on board. So a traveler would come up with crypto in his or her digital wallet on their phone. And then so they will scan a QR code that's generated by our payment system. Our payment platform then converts that cryptocurrency immediately into Australian dollars for the business. Because what we're finding is that the traditional businesses struggle to accept cryptocurrency direct due to price volatility and also really the general lack of knowledge and understanding of the blockchain technology. So we create a platform that is simple, secure, easy to use, and we convert it straight away into Australian dollars for them.
I was wondering how you dealt with the volatility, and that makes perfect sense. I've been pondering it. I think Abheeti's been pondering it as well. We were thinking, what if someone buys a beer and, a week later they balance the books and Bitcoin, that's a massive loss for one beer. You basically sold 10 beers for one.
It could go the other way. So, we've seen that like with the smaller business owners, those who believe in crypto themselves, they keep the crypto direct. It's part of them believing in the blockchain space and they want to hold it for the future. With the bigger businesses like the airport, for example, and the accommodation and all these travel tour providers, they would struggle with that volatility and they would need the security from an accounting point of view. And that's where the conversion to Australian dollars makes it easier, less friction for them to accept crypto payments.
So can you explain, for example, for business owners who are listening, how do they get to adopt this technology with your organisation?
It's quite a simple sign-up process. You come in contact with us. There's a merchant form that you sign. We get some details about your business. And then we set up the payment link. We send it to you. And that can really all be done through the phone, really. So we set up quite a few businesses interstate without having to meet them face to face.
So that's become like a digital process as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's a relatively straightforward platform to use. We've never had an issue with most of the staff as well that's using it. Yeah. And one of the features that we have on our platform is also a tax and accounting support. So people have the perception that, if you take payments in crypto, then it might be a good way to evade taxes. And in fact, sometimes we get that questions from our business, from our customers, but that's not true. We don't believe we should be doing that. We should be working with, the regulatory bodies to make sure that we are fully compliant. So we offer a tax and accounting summary page on our payment platform, and that clearly shows the sales summary. And then we even plug out the GST component for them to do their best summaries.
That's a bit like we were speaking to Bamboo, weren't we, to Nesh from Bamboo, and they were doing a similar thing at the end of the financial year. It made it really easy for people to access information which they could use for their tax return.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's quite valuable for businesses because it also helps create that clearer understanding as for cryptocurrency as a payment. So generally, when you talk about accepting Bitcoin, like straight away, most of your traditional businesses will go, oh, no, we don't. It's too difficult to understand. We're not sure how it's going to work. But as soon as they see that, look, it's actually really as simple as taking cash, then it just makes it less frictionless for them to take payment.
Can you tell us a little bit about Agnes Water, the town of 1770 or 1770? It's pretty epic.
Have you guys traveled up there before?
I haven't, but it's only 45 minutes away from me, so I should probably think about that.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, you should. It's beautiful. We went up there just last month as a team to launch the town, to train the merchants and set up the businesses. So we started this project on onboarding the merchants probably late last year, early January. The town folk, they are very enthusiastic. So even the name town of 1770, they're probably the most advanced in terms of, technology. They've completely embraced the blockchain. So we have about 30 businesses now. Basically, what we're building is concentration of merchants. So not just sporadic ones here and there, but what we want to do is for a traveler who is visiting Queensland and who wants to explore the Great Barrier Reef, they can then pay for their entire holiday, where it be accommodation, food, and a trip out to the reef. You can pay all of that in crypto.
Wow, you can actually go to the Great Barrier Reef, do a little tour and pay with crypto.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
What's the name of that company so our listeners can do a bit of a trip over?
So actually there are a few companies in the town of 1770 Agnes Water that takes payment in crypto that can take you out to the Great Barrier Reef. So Lady Musgrave Cruises, 1770 Reef Fish and Cruise. So yeah, it's basically if you park yourself there in a town, you can pay for your entire holiday, all the tour packages.
And it's a beach town, isn't it? So it's a really nice holiday spot if anyone's interested.
It's beautiful. It's got one of the, I think, top holiday homes in Australia. Like when we went up there, we went around taking pictures of all the fancy homes, and yeah, it's very nice. It's a great family place as well. I mean, we've got 2 little ones, and I think that's going to be our annual family holiday place from here on. Beautiful.
And mine. Let's holiday together with our little munchkins.
Yeah, it's a good spot for little ones because they've got the surf on one side, so great for those who are into surfing, etc. But they've got because it's a peninsula, so the other side faces the creek, and the creek is calm with, just very safe beaches for children.
Oh, beautiful.
So, Shireen, can you tell us a little bit about business owners? I mean, how much education do they need before they embrace this new technology? I know you've spoken about small business being more into holding on to their crypto and not translating it back into fiat, and perhaps big business being a little more conservative and wanting to see that reflected back in Australian dollars. But how difficult is it to, say, approach a local business like the cafe, where I go and buy a coffee before I go to school in the morning when I'm teaching, and say, hey, why don't you guys get involved with Travel by Bit? How do we educate businesses so that it does become more mainstream?
Yeah, the payment platform itself, generally I find that's not our struggle because it's quite straightforward. The key challenge is changing their perception on cryptocurrency. So you have those who have not heard about it, then you have those who have heard about it, and then you have those that have heard about it and thinks that it's just all for illegal activities. There is a certain public perception, and that's where our key challenge is. It's about shaping public perception on crypto. So generally, most of our effort goes into educating them about the blockchain technology in itself, rather than the actual payment system.
Okay, so the education is around blockchain rather than payment. But how about the actual education around crypto? Because that's quite a different subject matter, isn't it, to blockchain?
I guess when I say blockchain, I mean like blockchain payments, so cryptocurrency.
Okay.
So understanding that it is a payment system that, that runs on a blockchain without an intermediary like the banks. It's about understanding how it's decentralized, that the people confirming your transaction are just, thousands of computers all over the world. That's the part that people, I guess, either don't have the resources to, or lack of understanding or lack of interest. But generally, that's where the main education is about. Just teaching them about the blockchain space.
I remember we had 3 childcare centres, and each of them was very, very busy, and I was doing 12-hour days. It was just crazy. And if you think about people who are small business owners in restaurants and cafes and the sorts of places where you easily want to go and spend your crypto, I'm imagining that they're often just overwhelmed by things to do, let alone their own family concerns. And so how do you make that easy for people to understand? How do you do that education in a really straightforward way? Do you have a class or some sort of, how do you get that information across?
Well, to be honest, we've probably been doing a lot of one-on-one, which is really the most time consuming. For example, our trip up to 1770, we spent 5 days there as a team with over 30 merchants, sitting down with them and walking through the system initially, which we thought was going to take 10 minutes. But in the end, it will take us close to an hour when it just, when it comes up about the other areas about blockchain in general. We do encourage them to come for our local meetups and to attend local meetups in their area. And I think that helps a lot. Time is of an essence to them. It's very valuable for especially a small business owner who's running like a cafe. But it can be done. And that is one of our challenges as well, even just the resources within our own team. We are a very small team, and time is also a huge factor for us. But at the same time, it's needed. And I guess the idea is that the vision in general is to bring blockchain payments mainstream. And to do that is inevitably to hold some sort of education. So that kind of effort just needs to be spent.
Because I'm imagining, say, I live in Fremantle, on the other side of the country, and I'm just imagining getting a whole group of merchants together, because we've got Power Ledger over here. We've got all sorts of cool new startups as well. So people are aware of it and saying, okay, let's have a get together. We're going to have Shireen come and speak to us from Travel by Bit. Freo is a huge travel destination. And I would love to see a way that other people can can support you by getting their communities together, but it would need to be quite streamlined so that it was easy both for organizers and for merchants to get the information.
I agree. Yeah, I'm open to any ideas you have. Yeah, definitely. At the moment, we're probably just working off from support generally from the crypto community. For example, 1770, it actually is spearheaded by one of the locals there himself who believes in crypto. So he's done a lot of the groundwork there for us. And it's the same with a few merchants in Melbourne as well that will sign up because of their customers themselves who are crypto users, holders, and have asked for that service. So in that sense, it's the crypto community themselves going out there, giving that education, and then coming back to us, and we would just provide the payment platform.
Ah, so that way you've got the social proof. You've got people who are trusted within the community already spreading the word for you.
Yes, definitely.
So, Shireen, just to clarify for the listeners, it's not just travel merchants. You can sell anything. You can have a cafe, you can sell boots, you can sell whatever you want, and you could be a travel by bit merchant. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. So we started off focus on the travel industry because that's where we believe there's most value. But we have been getting a lot of interest from the other trades. So plumbers, people who sell bathroom equipment, just things like that, or roofers. We offer that to everyone. It's part of our vision to bring crypto payments to traditional businesses.
And I've seen recently you've started collaborating with some other big names, particularly NEM. Is that correct? Can you tell us about the people you're collaborating with?
Yeah, so NEM is a global blockchain company foundation. So we recently were successful in a community fund proposal. So they've got a community fund that funds startups and other blockchain entities that they believe in that can work together. So what we were proposing is integrating ZEM, which is their token, onto our platform. They do have a very wide global community. We've had massive support from them when we launched our proposal. So basically we're saying, look, you can use your ZEM now and travel to Australia.
Well done for getting all these people together. How long has Travel by Bit been going for? And what's the journey been like? Has there been any struggle? Has it all been easy street?
No, far from it. We've probably been about a year and a half now. I keep saying a year, but time just passes by. So yeah, it's probably a year and a half now. And one of our key challenges is, and I think in general that goes for cryptocurrency, is working with the regulators, so with the government bodies. We started off initially and we were sponsored by the Advanced Queensland Ignite Fund grant, which was great because that showed interest from, local governments in regards to blockchain and cryptocurrency. That's one of the reasons why we chose the tourism sector as well, because the government needs to see an economic value, if that makes sense. With cryptocurrency being able to possibly bring in a new kind of traveler internationally, they may not travel to anywhere else except to the fact that now they can use cryptocurrency to Australia. That was attractive for them. They were willing to explore the possibility of growing the regional areas. In fact, the town of 1770 was part of the project that we were doing under the grant funding. Because what we were saying is that, look, we can possibly open up regional Queensland to a whole new type of traveler. It's about working with the government bodies, being compliant with them. For example, we have a strict anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism program in compliance with AUSTRAC as a digital currency service provider. We want to be absolutely transparent in what we do because in such early stages, we are in a position to help shape regulation. And I think it's important that we do that right because we need good regulation. We need good regulation that would support growth and not stifle innovation in this space.
That's such an interesting point because a lot of the Australian government in some blockchain circles that I have been part of conversations with have been quite heavily criticized for impeding growth, for saying, if you want to develop an ICO in Australia, you're going to get taxed before you even make a profit. And that's why a lot of people are going off and developing their blockchain-based businesses in other countries where there is more of a tax-friendly incentive. And the whole notion is if we keep regulation friendly towards blockchain and crypto-based businesses, which is clearly the way of the future, then we're actually going to be painting Australia as a place which is welcoming this technology, not hindering it. So it is a very good point you're making in terms of the regulation and keeping in tune with regulation, but also helping to form it so that it's helping Australia in terms of trade and industry.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why it was an important milestone for us as well when we partnered with Brisbane Airport to launch Brisbane, international and domestic terminal. That was the one that has, in a sense, put Australia and Brisbane in the globally as the forefront leaders of cryptocurrency. Like the idea that Brisbane Airport has branded themselves as the world's first digital currency friendly airport, that made headlines everywhere. And I think it was pretty amazing that they also took that leap of faith and believed as well.
It's definitely a very compelling point of difference in terms of what your value offering is, to be able to say, we set this up, and it's fantastic.
Shireen, have you come across any regulation you would like to change, or do you see any regulations coming into play that might actually hinder your master plan, whatever that might be?
I think at the moment, the regulation is still not very clear. The regulators are probably still just watching the space and seeing how it all pans out. And this is where I feel it's important that we demonstrate that we can and we want to work with them. We have been approached by Austrac and ATO. We have been in talkings with them because they want to understand what we do in order to help them shape what they want to then have control of. So we are very open to that, and we welcome that kind of conversation because we think it's important. Yeah.
That is so exciting for everybody in the crypto space to hear that there's someone on our side who has capacity to work, in a relationship with the government, because it does feel a lot of the time like they're not listening and they actually don't have enough education to be able to make any sort of regulation at all. So it's really good news that you're doing that.
We are very fortunate as well that we are supported by, a strong crypto community. Like here in Brisbane, we have meetups quite often and local meetups here. And cryptocurrency at the end of the day is a social movement. So it's about the community supporting each other. And we wouldn't have come this far without the help of everyone.
With that, I guess, optimism, because it sounds like everything's going to be amazing. And I am holding on to this roller coaster for dear life, hoping that you're right. Where do you see blockchain and cryptocurrency in 5 years?
Blockchain technology definitely holds vast promise for businesses, society, and individuals who are seeking a more secure and transparent way of storing and communicating data. I believe that we can get there and we can bridge the gap between traditional practices and the blockchain applications that we see so invaluable that can improve what we do. To get there, it's about working together. I think it's very important that we work together, not just together as a community, but with the mainstream, with the governments and the regulatory bodies.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because as soon as there's resistance, their feathers get a little ruffled and they start to get a bit angry. So if everyone's willing to work together, then it's not going to be a war, is it? It's going to be a collaboration. And that is very optimistic. Shireen, I hope you're right.
Me too. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a very new space. It's very unknown to most of us. So we can only try our best and see how we go. And, just little things like you making the effort to download a digital wallet and spend it at the airport, just little things like that. It's not little, it actually matters, because if everyone does that, or if most people do that, then within the crypto community, then we are also then showcasing that there are actually going to be transactions. So with all these merchants who sign and come on board because we told them, there will be payment of the future. And then after that, nothing happens. So it's important that we also keep this support and this movement going. And eventually, as more of us get involved, then hopefully this will, really take off. And soon we can say that other than Visa and MasterCard, you can also just pay in Bitcoin.
One of our missions on Crypto-Clothesline is to make sure that people on the street don't miss out on this wealth/tech revolution. And one of our main things is to actually translate information from the blockchain crypto world into a language which is understandable for people who've never heard of this stuff before. So if you could imagine, I'm a traveler. I don't know anything about crypto. I don't know what a digital wallet is. Could you take me through step by step how I could pay for something at Brisbane Airport when I come through or when I'm flying out with cryptocurrency?
I guess at this stage, when we came up with the idea, it was our focus will be more on travelers who already do have crypto.
For example, there are people in my community who have crypto, but they said to me, how did you pay for it at Brisbane Airport? Because people might have it, but they don't necessarily understand how to use it.
So you can download a digital wallet on your phone. There are hundreds of wallets out there that can support the different types of coins. But if you go on our website, www.travelbybit.com, we have a schedule of just down to 4 or 5 wallets, depending on what coins you have. And then we have a tutorial that can show you how to download those wallets as well. So you can go ahead and download that wallet on your phone. And then you can also watch our tutorial on how to spend it on our payment system. But basically, our payment system generates a QR code that you can then scan with your mobile phone. And that automatically makes that conversion from, for example, $5 of coffee is worth 0.0000 something Bitcoin. And that comes out as a QR code. So you scan it with your phone, and then it just happens in just about a couple of steps. So, but we have that all on video on our website. Much easier to watch a video than me explaining.
I mean, it's one more step for people to go to your website. So I guess like when I was at Brisbane and I said, okay, I'd like to buy a coffee. And the girl said to me, okay, she brought up the usual transaction. And so instead of using my card to pay for the coffee, I had a QR code on my phone following those steps that you said, and she was able to scan my QR code, and then she was able to debit my account for X number of Litecoin, which was obviously a tiny amount of Litecoin. And then in my crypto account, it came up as a debit of X number of dollars or X number of Litecoin, depending which currency you wanted to look at it in. And I could see that I had paid for my coffee in the same way that I would see that reflected in my bank account.
So if you are a crypto user and you hold Litecoin, you would have your Litecoin stored in the wallet on your phone. So in terms of bank account, will be from the merchant's point of view. So you would have, let's say, X number of Litecoin on your phone and like $200 worth Litecoin, let's say. And now you have spent at the merchant for $100, so you will see $100 left in your Litecoin. It doesn't connect to your bank account. The bank account is from the merchant's side. They will see the $100 debited into their business bank account, because what we've done is we have translated your crypto that you've paid with into Australian dollars for the merchant. So if you have Litecoin sitting in exchange, as most people do, we encourage you to download a digital wallet that supports Litecoin onto your phone, like the Loaf wallet or like the Copay wallet for Bitcoin. You then transfer your crypto from the exchange to sit in your wallet, and then you carry that around like as if you're carrying a cash. So we call it a digital wallet.
What I meant was that when I look into my account, I could see that the money had been debited, that the money had come out of my account. What I was like wanting to let listeners know is that it's not a bank account, but in the same way that you can see transactions in a bank account, you can see transactions in your Litecoin or your Bitcoin wallet.
You're absolutely right. That's correct.
It's going to be really exciting to go through and do this, I guess, test with children and to see how they take to it, because it's not actually that complicated. It sounds like when you talk about banks and you talk about money and you talk about applications and you talk about phones and QR codes, people's heads explode. But it's actually really, really simple. And it's really actually scanning with a QR code, I found, is a lot easier than paying for things online. And when you go through all these processes, put your name and your address and all of this stuff, and they're not even posting anything out to you most of the time, but they still need all these details. Whereas a QR code, easy peasy. I was just basically saying it's epic, and I'm just so excited, and I'm just going to bloody wet myself because it's so awesome.
In China, no one uses cash anymore or even cards. Everyone uses QR code like Alipay. So to them, QR codes is second nature. But it's just that in Australia, we're still very used to, in that sense, using PayPass. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. But once you've used it, it's like you said, it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, that's why I was really wanting to put our listeners at ease, because I guess if we went through, like you said, Amy Rose, if we went through step by step everything you had to do to buy something off Amazon, probably nobody would go and buy anything. Like, what? I have to give this and that. It's going to take me 10 minutes to put my details in. What a pain. Whereas if we can just assure the listeners that it's actually quite a straightforward process once they get their head around it, it's probably 2 or 3 steps, really, isn't it?
It is. And like, if you think about it, if you wanted to set up a bank account today, like a traditional bank account, you would need, documents to accompany you. You go into the branch, you sit down for an hour or so, and then after that, you set up internet banking account, they send you a card, etc. It's a process that we're also used to, but if you think about it, it's actually quite cumbersome. Whereas if now you were to download a digital wallet on your phone, it takes you less than a minute. And then for me to transfer Bitcoin to you, it also then takes less than 10 minutes. So, and then after that, you've got cash in your phone already, ready to go.
It's basically just a matter of whipping out your phone, which you've always got in your hand anyway, opening up an application and scanning a QR code. It's just so easy and really exciting for the adoption of cryptocurrencies, actually.
It is, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Shireen, for coming on the show. It's been an eye-opener, that's for sure. And I did think originally it might be a little bit more complicated, but you've just been like, blah, it's so easy.
Before you do go, can we ask you, what's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote is, ignore financial speculation, let's build genuine adoption.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Very fitting. You had that prepared. You must have listened to other episodes.
Ignore financial speculation. Could you tell me that again, please?
Ignore financial speculation. Let's build genuine adoption.
Let's build genuine adoption. Beautiful.
Is that your quote? Did you write that?
Yeah, I think I did.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Shireen. It's been really enlightening and really refreshing that there's a business in Australia which is providing this genuine adoption mechanism.
Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. It was really good. Yeah.
You're welcome. See you later, Shireen.
See ya.
Bye. What an interesting chat we've just had with Shireen. So practical, so down to earth, and so much into mass adoption of cryptocurrencies.
That's what we're after. We're after a woman who's got the end in sight. She's thinking about collaborating with the Australian government, assisting them in the implementation of regulations to make sure they tick all the boxes that the cryptocurrency community need them to tick, instead of just jumping on their horses and riding around on their regulation bloody whatever they're called, rallies.
And instead of creating regulations which are going to hinder business and crypto and expansion and mass adoption, we're looking at crypto-friendly regulations which are in keeping with ATO and tax collection and all of that fuffly stuff. But it's also making sure that Australia is a crypto-friendly environment, not a place where people feel blocked.
I reckon Shireen's a bit of a trendsetter, because she says that they started a year and a half ago. And at that point, they had all these issues, with traveling and not being able to pay, which you'll hear about in the interview. But they're a trendsetter because despite the odds of no one accepted crypto, and they decided they were going to start spearheading this revolution, and they've done so well. They have 200 merchants now accepting cryptocurrency.
Which perhaps in 5 years is going to sound chuckleable, but at this stage in time, that's a huge amount of people who once upon a time were only taking cash and now they're accepting crypto. She didn't mention what the 5 top currencies are, but I'm guessing Bitcoin, Litecoin, they both came up in the conversation. Probably a bit like Bamboo, maybe it's the 5 top performing ones.
Ethereum is in there as well.
Well, she also mentioned that on her website there were tutorials, so it's all about making it easy for the end user.
And she also said that we have a new holiday destination that is pretty much one whole town that accepts crypto. And you can take a little bit of a dive on the Great Barrier Reef just by using one of those merchants. So also very exciting that that's where we're going to hang out for the rest of our lives, abheeti.
Well, you are, because you're 45 minutes from there, darling. I'm still a plane ride away. Apart from Virgin, and I believe Virgin do accept Bitcoin, I believe Sir Richard is looking at accepting Bitcoin for the first trip to the moon, if you think there is a moon and if you think you can get there.
Whoa, rabbit hole. Hold on to me. I'm falling down the rabbit hole.
No, there are no rabbit holes because the Earth is flat. There are no holes. Everything. Otherwise, where are they going to go?
Where's Antarctica?
Don't worry, I'll throw you some Bitcoin. I'll throw you some Tether. Anyway.
Where am I? I'm in Ethereum.
I'm in the ether. Oh dear, we've got to stop. Stop! We're the only ones laughing. This is an issue. Anyway, Shireen, excellent interview, very practical, so down to earth, and we're super excited about perhaps being able to share this in our own local communities. So definitely going to Freo, and I'm going to talk to some Freo business owners and say, listen, stop whinging about the expensive parking and the other things that are keeping people away from Freo, and let's get crypto into the merchant thought base and into the practice.
I don't think it's going to be too hard with Freo. Freo or Fremantle, for anyone who's listening, they're already prepped. They're already nice and warm and ready to accept crypto. You just need to make it easy.
Well, I think there's organizations like Blockchain Fremantle run by Johnny Swanepoel and some other really interesting people around the place. There are some incredible businesses that are being birthed out of Western Australia that are related to crypto and blockchain, like Blockbox, we've got Power Ledger, we've got BuildSort, we've got heaps of other really very innovative and forward-thinking organizations coming up. So we just have a chat with these guys and we put our heads together, and I think we can make it happen for Travel by Bit in the West as well.
Oh, I don't think you're going to be able to stop it. I think that you need to be the one who does it first, BT.
Okay. Crypto-clothesline, bringing Travel by Bit to Western Australia.
You can't actually stop it because it's already been so successful over here, and Western Australia, wait a while. It's only going to be so long until they jump on, and I'm really, really hoping that abheeti, we have a massive movement over there with Travel by Bit. The crypto space where you are is thriving. They're just like, what do you call that when they're like desperate for it?
On fire?
On fire.
I'm just getting images of somebody's getting their bottom burnt, but, we don't want to go there. I actually think that, Travel by Bit coming here and a few more of those industries that are really looking at mass adoption and making it easy for people to be able to use cryptocurrency in daily life, I think that will actually help to bring you back to Western Australia, Amy Rose.
I'm going to come back and visit and just make sure everything's okay over there and make sure the crypto space is traveling nicely. Then I'll come back. I'm just like a checker honorer.
Well, I think you need to come back, create solutions for the drought issues we've got here, and then you'll all move back.
I think the biggest contributor to the drought issue, abheeti, is the fact that there is a lot of desert.
Yes, well, there's nothing we can't fix, isn't it?
You're literally living in a desert. There's sand everywhere.
Yeah, well, we're only limited by our imagination. The whole blockchain crypto thing is about, decentralization, darling, and, getting out of our own ways. So, stop being the problem and start creating the solution, sweetie.
Why doesn't Western Australia start stealing Queensland's rain clouds?
Well, we could steal rain clouds. That's an option. It sounds a little bit like Despicable Me, like, stealing the moon or something. But I do think we could look at, water distillation practices. We can look at, we've got so much ocean here. I mean, surely we can look at doing something with that.
I don't think you know about what's been in the news, abheeti.
Oh, of course I don't. I never watch the news. What's up?
The Iranians are blaming Israel for stealing rain. They're literally saying that the Israelis are stealing their rain via technology. It's legit a thing.
Oh, gosh, I've got to say, I didn't know that. And my ignorance is now hugely public.
It's called cloud theft because you can create clouds. And so therefore you can also steal them, apparently. I guess we need to put clouds on the blockchain.
Wow, ownership of clouds. I mean, we talked to Bonnie Yu last week when we had that interview with the mayor of Fremantle, Brad Pettit, about tagging electrons. Now, how do we tag clouds? This is getting really bizarre.
I have no idea. So you know what? Clouds are not my expertise because I was driving in the car with my daughter. She's like, let's play I Spy. And she said a word. She said a letter and I'm going through like trying to guess this thing. And I can't even remember what it was, but I'm like, do you mean cloud? Because she gave me all these clues. It's in the sky. It's white. And then she's like, but what sort of cloud, Mum? That's what it starts with. I'm like, oh, my Lord. So apparently clouds have different names.
Oh, they totally do. I had a teacher in year 7 and she was a relief teacher and she couldn't spell and she was taking us for spelling. She said, you know what? I can't spell. So we're going to do a lesson on clouds. And I learned about cumulus clouds. I learned about cirrus clouds. Like, I think that's right. The wispy clouds are cirrus clouds and the big puffy ones are cumulus clouds, which, sounds like a bit accumulation. It kind of works Latin wise. I loved it. I loved it. You never look at clouds the same way again. I don't know what the song is. Doesn't come to mind. But there is another cloud that you absolutely hate, Amy Rose.
The Nimbus cloud.
No. Privacy, like uploading stuff to the cloud.
Why do people even do that, abheeti? Why are people still doing that?
Yeah, because you've been teaching me so much around cybersecurity and being hackable and being not so hackable. And, well, you had a nasty experience this week on that notice.
Well, I didn't say I was extorted. However, I was the victim of an extortion attempt, which was via an email that said I needed to transfer some cryptocurrency. And I have been quite prepped for this, Abheeti, as you know. And I've actually, perhaps everything you think about, you bring about, perhaps I brought this on myself. However, I doubt it. It's going around like wildfire at the moment. But yeah, so I didn't think it would ever happen to me. I know it happens, you know, to CryptoGat, and it's happened to a friend of mine, and actually recently another friend of mine. And yeah, basically send us $500 worth of Bitcoin, or we will send some recordings that we have of you to your friends and family in your contact list. So I guess a quick lesson here would be, I don't save contacts for this reason, but basically cover your webcam and keep yourself safe.
Wow, I'm just going to get a tissue right now. I usually have something over there, and because I've been doing some videos lately, I don't. So goodbye. There's a tissue over the top. I think that's a really interesting point. And when I saw your thing about I've only got 7 contacts, I just thought back to my network marketing days when everybody was stored on Gmail. I've got way more than that. So I'm going to be wiping that off.
The more contacts you have, they save the contacts, and you know, you can delete your contacts. That's fine, but they've already downloaded them and stored them, and it's a worry.
All right, but you've got through it okay?
They gave me 24 hours to hand over the Bitcoin. I didn't do that. So I'm okay. I'm fine. I have quite excessive security. So as you know, Abheeti, I'm quite paranoid, and I tap a lot. So no one's going to want much from me.
I think the thing is, though, that as we mentioned in our Telegram groups that you shared that in, a lot of people, probably 99.999% of the population, would freak out if they received that templated nasty message.
They do. That's why they hand over the Bitcoin.
So that's where it's a real concern. I mean, it's incredible that it actually hit your inbox, because nobody else that I know has received that message. At least they haven't shared that they've received that message. And so it just goes to show that if that hit, you know, Ma and Pa Kettle, that would freak you right out.
Yeah, it would. And at the end of the email, it actually says, and if you don't know how to purchase Bitcoin, Google it, or whatever it said. And so the people who tried to extort me, they weren't actually aware of that I was in love with crypto. I think it's just a basic email. They targeted 50 different email addresses and hoped that one of them would hand over cryptocurrency.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you were so well equipped.
Oh, look, I still shat myself, Abheeti, because someone has entered into your space and is threatening you, and your automatic body response, your human response, is to fight or flight.
And it's that adrenaline rush as well. I mean, even if you have the logical capacity to overcome it, and you know the various steps with your firewall and your contacts and all those different steps that you walked me through, even so, there's an invasion of privacy, and that invasion feels like, you know, there's somebody in my house, to the primitive brain, to the primal brain.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't think it's going to happen to them. I was one of those people. Even though I had the measures in place, still didn't imagine that it would be me. It's a shock when you read it.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you got through it, and I'm glad you're going to be close to me. So if it ever happens to me, I'm going to be calling you and say, right, cool woman, what do I do now?
Everyone just needs to ramp up their security, particularly over next year. Things are going to get pretty sticky with crypto, particularly if the price rises as well.
Amy Rose, you've written a whole heap of information around cybersecurity. Why don't we put that blog into the show notes so that listeners can actually get access to that and go through the steps one by one?
Totally. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. We could also put in a contact for Thomas Dredge, because he is also a cybersecurity king, isn't he?
Oh, from Focus Cybersecurity, he's epic. I think definitely. And he does health checks for anybody who's interested, who has a business who needs a security health check to see how vulnerable you are.
Right. So that's going to be in there too. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you next week. We'll all be on the other side of school holidays, and we'll see how we're feeling then.
Oh, totally pumped. I'm already pumped.
Well, my guys are out there making waffles as we speak. So there is an upside to having school holidays, like you say, without the rush and all that.
Yum. Enjoy.
Thanks, darling. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is abheeti-kathryn-pass.
Travel by Bit is coming to Fremantle, the home of Power Ledger. We'll be offering merchants and businesses the opportunity to make the easy switch to payment with crypto, so your customers can pay you easily for your products and services in cryptocurrency. It'll give you the edge over your competitors who are still stuck in the dark ages using cash and credit cards, although of course, you can keep accepting these payments too. When your customers pay you in crypto, you can opt to convert it straight back into Aussie dollars to your usual account, or you can keep the crypto and hodl to your heart's content. All you have to do now is go to wheretoshopwithcrypto.com and register your interest. Thanks.
Hi, you've called Abheeti
And Amy Rose.
at Crypto.
Clothesline.
Leave a message after the...
I'm going to keep my message brief and to the point today. I do try to be succinct every time I call in, but I can see by your continual insistence on publishing new podcasts that you are actually not listening to me. Now, I was at the doctor's surgery the other day and I was flicking through a copy of The New Idea or one of those lovely ladies magazines, and they had an article on cryptocurrency. So I grant you some other silly people in the society are thinking about these things. But anyway, this article said that Bitcoin was a bubble and it was going to burst. So, think of it as a little bit of as a whitehead that you had on your face when you were a teenager. Pop, pop, it's going to be all over and the mirror is going to be a mess.
Crypto-clothesline.